Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Intan Putri Rahayu, and usually my friend call me Intan. I want to explain reflection, voice, and accent for one semester.
I'm very grateful to be able to learn about voice and accent for one semester, which made my English accent even better.
Starting from my poor English accent, I learned a lot about various accents in the world, from the accent of British, American, Indian, Philippine, Spanish, and many more English. I came to know that the difference between American and British. In American, the consonant R at the end is still read. For the example, Harry Potter. And in British, the consonant R at the end does not appear in pronunciation. For the example, Harry Potter. And in American, do not use grammar in pronunciation. And in British, the grammar in pronunciation are be formal. And in American, they say university. And in British, they say college.
Now I know how to pronounce vowel and consonant correctly. You like thing, thus, sharp, chef, pressure, sugar, motion, beach, Asia, leisure, working, think, man, and lost.
I also know that there are 8 diphthongs and 5 triphthongs. Diphthong is ie, ue, ei, ai, oi, and the last au. Diphthong is eie, aie, oie, and the last one is au. I also know that there are 3 types of stress, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary, and learn about stress and intonation most so important because can change our accent to be better. And I come to know that the accent in every region in the world has its own characteristic and cannot be acquired forever. How to improve my English skill? The first number is I often listen or sing English songs. For example, It's Me, Beautiful in White, and Love Song. The second number is speak English every day with other people or alone in the quiet place. The next number is follow Instagram English Brilliant. The next number is live in the environment where English is spoken daily. And the last one is join the storytelling competition and get the winner.
I think that all from me to explain what I got for this semester. The last I say, Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hi, my name is Ramadhanty Mandala, and I will explain my reflection about learning voice accent. Okay, the first is good and correct pronunciation. So far, when I study English, I don't really pay attention to the pronunciation. So, learning voice and accent is very impactful to improve my pronunciation in English every day. This has really changed my pronunciation in English and also helped when I was talking with friends in English. The second, history about English around the world. This is the first time in my life to study the history of English from various countries. In my opinion, this material is a bit complicated, but because studying this will add my insight about British history and also their cultural customs. And I am happy to learn it because it will add my insight and knowledge. Okay, the third, intonation. From intonation material, I learned a lot about intonation, from the high or low of reading and also proper vocal techniques. And from this learning, I became more understanding and paying attention to an intonation tone and also my own intonation. The fourth, accent. This is very fun material, but you also have to pay attention more because this is about the accent of each country because all accents are not the same as American. From learning this accent, I came to know that there are many accents in this world, not just American and British accents. So I naturally know more about the accents and the difference too. Okay, the last, how to improve our speaking skills. The first, train yourself by speaking English with your friends. The second, watching movies that use various accents and without subtitles. The third, share knowledge about the lessons with friends. The fourth or the last, don't forget to repeat the lessons before and also study from many sources. Okay, I think enough. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello, my name is Sayyida Aqlia Faila Sufa. My reflection in first election in semester 1. I'm very grateful to be able to learn more about English, especially first and accent. This is something new for me because from high school I thought I'll only learn about the present tense and other similar things. It turned out that learning English is very important. My reflection in the first is English is a global language. The second is phonetic and phonology. The third is vowel, diphthong, and triphthong. The fourth is syllable cluster and stress. The fifth is term form and weak form. And the last is variation of native English. The first is about English as a global language. I know that English is a global language because English is the most widely spoken language in very different contexts in the world. Therefore, English is not only an international language, but also a global language spoken as the first language by people in the country. The global language can be spoken as either first, second, or foreign language. The second is about phonetic and phonology. This is new knowledge for me because I just heard this material. What I know about phonetic and phonology. Phonetic is the study of human sounds and phonology is the classification of sound within the system of a particular language or language. I get a lot of new things as I haven't known before. Through this material, I can know and understand a little about consonants. The third is about vowel, diphthong, and triphthong. The first is vowel. A vowel is a letter that represents an open sound. There are 6 vowels in the English language: A, I, U, E, O, and sometimes Y. Y is sometimes a vowel, as in the word story, although it also sometimes acts as a consonant, as in the word yes. Diphthong comes from the Greek and means in phonetic, and diphthong is a vowel in which there is a noticeable sound change within the same syllable. The last is triphthong. A triphthong is a glide from one vowel to another and to a third, all produced rapidly and without interruption. For example, a careful pronunciation of the word hour, because with a vowel quality similar to goes on to o, then ends in o, it says hour. Syllable, there's a sequence of 2 consonants without an intervening vowel. 3-part structure of English syllables is onset, nucleus, and coda. When two or more consonants occur together, they are called a consonant cluster. Stress is the degree of force or loudness with which a syllable is pronounced so as give it prominence. I think it's still a bit difficult for me to understand syllable cluster and stress material because this is something new for me. The fifth is variation of native English. Here, I studied several variations of native English, starting from British Isles, English in the USA and Canada, English in Australia and New Zealand, English in the Caribbean, English in South Asia, and the last is English in Southeast Asia. Usually, I learn pronunciation and increase vocabulary by listening to music, sometimes watching movie, but I still try to like the genres. Apart from I also read books and try to practice speaking English a little bit with my interlocutor. Don't be shy or even afraid of being wrong. In fact, when you talk to your seniors in the dormitory, she correct my wrong words and vocabulary, cause I'm still very unfamiliar with English. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Gita Ayu from ELT, English Learning Teaching 2022 from class 1A, and this is my reflection in subject voice and action course. This is about the material that I have studied for one semester in the subject voice and action course. The kind of material that I have studied: English as a global language, phonology, phonetics, vowels, diphthong and triphthongs, strong forms and weak forms, and the last one is variation of English. The material which is understood: English as a global language, strong forms and weak forms, and variation of English. Okay, firstly, English as a global language. As I know, to be a global language, not from the number of speakers of that language. In this case, English has become one of international language where many people study it. Therefore, English has become a global language that is controlled by many people. Next, secondly is strong forms and weak forms. Okay, this is strong forms. The strong forms of a word is that forms of pronunciation which is used when it's found in stress or final position or in isolation. Whereas weak forms is a word that form of pronunciation which is used when it occurs in unstressed position. Thirdly is variation of English. English is the most widely spoken language in the world, having the distinct status of being the official language of multiple countries. While the English language, is uniform with major variation in spelling present between American English and British English. The dialect or accent is usually the factor that enables one to distinguish the various types of English out there. Like most languages, there are varieties of English too. However, the difference is not as prominent as you may see in other languages. Kind of English is native Englishes and new Englishes. Native Englishes consist of British, American, Canada, Australian, New Zealand, Caribbean. And New Englishes consist of South Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and each other. And this is part of material that I'm not yet understood. They are phonology, phonetics, vowels, diphthong, and triphthongs. In my opinions, this material is still too foreign, because when I was in junior high school until senior high school, I had never heard of it. Where I only know is that there are three accents in English, namely British accent, Australian accent, and American accent. I never thought I had to learn to pronounce English in detail and deep. And I think way of self-development is learning as a good and right way. Even though sometimes studying alone is not efficient, at least we read the material that is scheduled for the next day, even if only for 3 minutes. And it also, there is a good habituation to do, in my opinion, is read the material back in the evening, look for reference on social media, try new language types, make notes in a book. Every lecture going to explain the material. Okay, I think enough here. And that is my reflection about voice and accent course. Thanks for your attention. And the last asai, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.